So before we circle back to the factors that
Mm-hmm.
weighed into your decision, I want to go into a little bit more about what that moment was like when you found out you not only were pregnant, but had a very short window of time to make a decision. I think it's so important or critical to this conversation, the fact that you only had a small window of time, because given the new law that was passed, most women would have to make a decision if they made the cutoff at all, right? If they found out they were
Right.
pregnant before the approximate 6-week deadline, the likelihood that they would have more than a week or two to make the decision would be almost the norm, right? Like everybody in
Mm-hmm.
this situation is going to have a very small window of time. So, what was that moment like for you when you found out? And what was that week like leading up to you having to make a final decision? And then we can talk about what factors weighed into your decision and what that was like. But yeah, like what was that moment like, and what was that experience like leading up to you having to make the decision?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing was kind of more so it's different when you have an idea about something versus when reality actually hits. So I kind of walked in, I'll say, with a little bit of naivety, thinking that, okay, or naivete if that's the correct word, but just thinking,
Girl, it's the sugar-free
I,
podcast, whatever,
I'm like, well, I was like,
whatever
what's the word? I
feels
got the
good.
syllables right. But, I kind of thought maybe I am, but maybe I'm not. It can't be. But then I'm thinking, don't be surprised if you are. So when they
Mhm,
told me, I'm so serious, it just slipped out of me. And you know me be a very candid person. When they say,
mhm.
congratulations, you're pregnant, it just verbal vomit with what? And they're looking at me like, when does this turn into Jeopardy, sis? Like, you know how this works. And I'm like, I understand, but,
Girl, were you at
you know,
Planned Parenthood?
no names are going to be mentioned. But so,
I'm
uh,
just asking because they probably look. If you were at Planned Parenthood asking, "What am I pregnant with?" They were probably like,
But you know what I will say though? The thing is that I wish was a little bit different about my experience is I don't know if I want to call it like a sensitivity around it, but I think because whether it's a clinic or it's Planned Parenthood, this is something they see every day, right? So it's like I think I think for them when there's a little bit of normalcy in the sense of for the person you're talking to, this is something that's very, shocking for them. For you, this is just a 3 o'clock because you got a 4 o'clock coming right after this person. So in that
Mm,
moment, there was a little bit of okay, are you sure? You know what I mean? But then just realizing, okay, Tiffany, you took yourself here to get this clarity. But really
mm,
in that moment, it was surprising. And then when they told me that I was 11 weeks, the big thing, which is why this bill is so insane to me, is they asked me, do you want to hear the heartbeat? So I remember
whew,
just kind of being it honestly felt like it was an outer body experience because I'm still trying to soak in with the fact that you were experiencing morning sickness, which is a pregnancy symptom, which is you're
mhm.
pregnant. All that. I did have an ultrasound, and that's what really personalized it for me. Feeling the cold jelly on your stomach and everything, and looking at this monitor and hearing this, heartbeat, where it's kind of like,
Wow,
okay, this is not just there's something growing inside of you, like it actually has a
wow.
life of its own. So even with all of
That's a
that,
lot.
that's when they did tell me, yeah, I mean, and that was
That's a lot for a first moment of recognizing like this is I feel overwhelmed and I wasn't there. It wasn't
and
me.
that's girl. So when you ask me about that moment, so much happened. I feel like in that kind of like even our appointment because some of it was just kind of like what do I do? Do I tell the person first off, who do I tell? Do I tell anybody? And even with what's going on in Texas, I was just listening to a story today that hotlines in Oklahoma and I think Louisiana are just blowing up because these women still want to have this procedure, they just can't do it in their state. So I'm thinking, do I get this done in Alabama? Do I go next door to Georgia? Like I'm just thinking, what in the world are my options? And so it was a lot, and I remember they gave me a pamphlet, which, I don't know. I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing, but it still is kind of like, again, I think because this is just a 3 o'clock for you, it just kind of felt like I know they're doing their job, but I kind of felt like a little kid where I was like, I really want someone to hold my hand and tell me
Yeah.
what I'm supposed to do because all this just hit, and now it's like it's so different functioning in the space of now I know that I'm pregnant versus before it was a guess, but now this is confirmation and, I saw, the heartbeat and heard it. Now I'm walking around with personalization, you know.
Yeah. Whew, girl, I feel for you.
It's a little heavy.
It is a lot. It is a lot. That's why I'm so incredibly grateful for you coming, to the show with such vulnerability. And so I normally will share experiences that I've had. And this is such a foreign topic for me because I have
Mm,
never experienced pregnancy. And so I've never had an abortion. I do have more than 12 women friends, so I do know a number of women who have had them, but I
right.
don't know if even amongst my closest girlfriends, and you're one of my close girlfriends, Tiffany, like even amongst my closest girlfriends, I don't know that we've ever gotten that granular. Like I don't know that
Yeah.
I've ever asked you what that experience was like in the moment. And so knowing, that I care about you as a human and like knowing that you were sitting in that room alone, away from anybody that was familiar or that
Right.
cared for you. And to be in that room having that experience, like my heart is like, oh my God, like I could not even imagine.